Welcome, everyone, to the Firing the Man podcast. On today's episode, we have the privilege to interview Omer Riaz. Omer is the co-founder of YourTasker, a globally renowned e-commerce consulting agency that provides cutting-edge, groundbreaking, and truly revolutionary back-office support to e-commerce sellers, business owners, and vendors on multiple online channels such as Amazon, eBay, Shopify, and Jet.com. Both Ken and I have used YourTasker for the last few months, and they have made a critical difference in our business. So, Omar, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, David.
Absolutely. So I think first things first, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what led you to starting YourTasker.
Sure. My background is in IT. Before doing e-commerce, I have worked in IT. When I say IT, I have worked Accenture and Deloitte, which are big four IT consulting firm. So I was before e-commerce, I was involved in technology-based implementations to improve business processes. So a lot of things which you see at YourTasker is related to business processes. So that is one of the reasons. So me and my other partners started our e-commerce journey back in 2015. And when we started, we figured out, obviously from IT background, and I think a lot of people go through that when they start their journey. They don't know what to do exactly. You know, they have ideas, they have a lot of things, but how to implement that, especially if you are not from e-commerce market, so it's a challenge. The same challenge for us. We had ideas, we took action, and we started from wholesale retail arbitrage, moved towards private label business. One of the things which we figure out is since we were managing a lot of teams in Philippines and India in our IT jobs, we felt that there is a genuine gap when it comes to staffing for e-commerce. And that is basically based on two reasons. One is you can find people who really know what they are doing. Secondly, if you find people, those are not economical. So we started the team. We said, okay, we brought our third partner. We started a team of 3 people, eventually just to help ourselves, our Amazon account and eBay. We were doing Walmart. At that time, there was no Walmart, Shopify. So we started that. We kind of learned stuff and delegated. That's what we did. We did pretty good. First 6 months, we reached like 6-figure sellers. Everything was great. But the thing which was, kind of very interesting was that we see there is a gap. And when our family and friends, they saw that we're doing pretty good, and some people were in e-commerce and they got our services. And that's where we got the idea that instead of selling on Amazon, we see this gap, and if with our experience we can fill that gap by growing service like YourTasker, and that's how it started. And now, long story short, after 4.5 years, we almost completed 5 years now, and we have a team of about 200 people, 4 global offices. So I think you asked me a question about my background, so I took the whole story. So here is my story. Yes.
That's great. It sounds like there's a lot of stuff that was in that story. Can we unpack some of that in terms of like services that YourTasker offers and kind of the overall mission?
So obviously the main mission which I have right now, and that from the day one, is to help small online business owners. Okay. Ken and David, when we started our journey to provide services, I literally have visited warehouses where I see people who are doing business for years and years, and they are not technology savvy. Okay, they don't know how to work with virtual teams. Okay, I mean, they didn't believe on virtual teams, obviously, for the start. So in order to convince them to get those services, it was a challenge. But I see a scope. So our mission is just to help small online business owners. that is basically from day one, and that's what we're doing. When it comes to services, obviously our main area of focus is Amazon, since it's a largest marketplace out there. But we do provide services on eBay, Shopify, Walmart. A lot of people have inquired us about a lot of other services like social media, paid marketing, website, but we were just hesitate to build our team because we were pretty much busy in Amazon, Amazon services, which I can talk about what are the services. But so from last year, we start building a team, website development team. We brought our SEO guys, social media, just to help our internal clients. We are not actively promoting those services. Our main area of focus is still on Amazon. A lot of work, 90% of our work is still on Amazon, and I think everybody knows that your tasker is subject matter expert on Amazon because we were Amazon seller before. So in Amazon world, we kind of start with uh, product research, listing optimization, PPC management, customer support. So that is pretty much about services.
Okay, so you have a lot of interaction with small business owners, and that's one thing that Ken and I have talked about is that in e-commerce, oftentimes you feel like you're on an island, right? It's just you. And so I'm really interested to hear what are some things that you see small business owners doing wrong, and what are some areas that smart small business owners are doing to adapt to this global marketplace?
I think that there are a lot of issues, and those issues are basically on the stage, on which stage you are. For example, let's take an example: someone who is working their 9 to 5 jobs and they want to build a business. Okay, the very first thing is they want to build this business. They have a dream, but the only thing is that they do all type of research. Okay, and now they are stuck where they have to take action. And I think all of us took action, and you know, uh, we got something, whether it's a positive, negative, but we learn on our way. That is one of the stage. But people who have started now, they have built something. Now their business is growing. Okay. One of the challenges which I see is, and I talk openly. I talk to them openly. I said, well, are you taking your business as a hobby, or are you taking your business seriously? And when I say seriously, it means that you have to treat this even like e-commerce business as a serious business where you have, even though you have a virtual team, but you have all the departments. Okay, you need to have, even you are one person, you need to have like your HR, you need to have your research, or marketing. You need to structure those, even though you take ownership of those and work on those, but you need to have those processes somewhere. So later on the stage, when you are moving more toward from solopreneur to entrepreneur, you have everything set up, a very basic structure, and you take it from there. When people start delegating, when people start managing people, not everybody is a manager. I can tell you, when it comes to like I have two partners and they are very good at managing stuff. I lack somewhere, so I kind of fill that gap by having my partners over. So everybody is good at something, and everybody lacks at something. The very first thing you need to know, where do you lack? Okay, if you identify that, and if you can work on your weaknesses, okay, I think that's a major thing. And when it comes to delegating, I think the major problem is how to delegate. Okay, what to delegate. Okay, and when I talk to small business owners, and that is basically from past 3 years continuously, very first call, and I tell them, when it comes to delegating, just make a list of the stuff which you do, list of tasks, and I can tell you, Ken and David, that if you look at the list, if you make your list, I think you could do like more than 80%. You can delegate easily. Okay, that is like time consuming task and time-consuming activities. And then you have to see the priority. As a business owner, as a small business owner, you need to have priority. For example, let me just give you an example. So I like giving example because they are based on the real stories, which I went through. So I walked into a warehouse. I see this guy. He's good at manufacturing products. He has this brilliant mind, bringing new products, manufacturing new products. This guy is struggling on the phone with one of the customer who bought his product, and he spent like 4 hours. And I was just, and when I walk in, I said, "What is going on?" And he said, "Well, I was talking to this person, and I'm having a hard issue." And I said, "Well, look at this way. You spent 4 hours, okay? Now, if you have built your processes, okay, if you have built like 3 to 4 templates, for example, if the customer is angry, you need to send this, deal with this. If you get this response, you send this. And ultimately, if this customer is, wants to leave a bad review and you have to save yourself, just provide a full refund, okay? You need to have 3, 4 processes out there and let someone handle it. So you could take those 4 hours and do something productive, do something meaningful, do something which can bring more revenue to your business. So I think you need to figure out as a business owner where your time should be spent.
Yeah, that's for me that really hits home personally, because I like to solve problems and to try to do everything myself. And it took a while for me to admit, hey, I'm not good at that. I need to find someone to help me, to partner with. And I don't know about you, David, but do you struggle with stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You start off usually on a shoestring budget, and at least in my experience, a lot of my dollars were spent on my inventory, and I felt like I needed to do everything. And what ended up happening was I never really was good at, 10 I wasn't good at all 10 tasks that I was doing. I was mediocre. And what I found is that when I get some of these things off of my plate that I wasn't doing a good job of to start with, the customer benefits, I benefit because I can start spending time on things that I do enjoy. And there's somebody else that does enjoy this, and in the business benefits. And so I think that early on needs to be a pivot that people make, is just understanding. And Omar, you alluded to this. It takes a special person to admit that, hey, I'm really bad at this. I don't enjoy doing this. But I think that's so important, and to see your blind spots. So, one thing that I would like to go into more detail on is when you first hired your first assistant. You've talked a lot about processes, but I've learned that managing is a really important thing, and that there are better ways to go about managing an assistant than others. So, in your experience, what are successful sellers doing when they're interacting with their assistants, and what are some ways that we can all do a better job?
I think one of the better job you could do is, first of all, like whenever you start something, and I have learned in a hard way. Okay, I was a technology IT business processes consultant. Okay, and the example which I'm giving you is basically from Fortune 500 clients, with whom we have worked with. And we have this like 1-year project, okay? And we rushed through this project. And at the end, when it comes to testing phase, when we're testing this code or product, whatever, we found out there are issues, okay? Why there are issues? Because we didn't spend enough time on documenting requirement. That's the main part. So when it comes to, outsourcing, delegating, I think the very first, and I think a lot of people are talking about it. I see like a lot of influencers, they are talking about, okay, you need to document your process, you need to document your requirement. Okay, that's the very first thing. to know your processes and documenting those processes. So back like 4 years ago, when I developed my team, I was learning PPC, I was learning product research. Okay, I was delegating right at that time, not in the intention that the people I have, they will learn that process and they will grow. There might be other people who can come and take that place, but the process which I made, the document which I have created, that can be easily delegated to anyone else. Your intention is to build a team from day one. Okay, so that's the first thing. I think scoping and requirement gathering, that's the first stuff. And now the second part is, once you did that, now how you are going to monitor that. That's an important part. And people like when it comes to monitoring, it's tough. You have never been a manager. Let's, for example, if you never have been manager, now you have to review stuff. Okay, and people get frustrated when they have to review stuff. Okay, especially if they don't find right staff or whoever working. Nobody likes to review. But again, that's the investment of time which you are doing for future. Okay, and we do at the same thing at your Tasker, and you probably have felt that we have a resource who is working, and then on top of that we have a quality assurance manager, which which we provide free, just because we know that a lot of small business owners, they cannot afford to hire someone who can work and then a reviewer who is on the top of that, so they want to delegate everything, like some point in time. So I think these are very basic stuff, basic stuff, which anyone who is building team, who is building a business, need to do on the course of that process.
Absolutely. One thing that I think I've really liked about your Tasker is that when we start, we establish objectives, weekly and monthly objectives. And at the end of every day, I get a daily update report. And Ken, I know you and I have talked about this. It's so helpful to have that, right? There's so many moving pieces in a business, and to get that email at the end of the day and know exactly what was worked on throughout the day really helps in that review process, right? That's one thing that I think in a lot of old school business owners, I think they fall into this category where they are really unsure. If they can't see somebody working, they don't know that they're working on their account. And I think, right now we're recording this in it's April 15th, and we're right in the middle of this COVID-19 outbreak. And you're seeing more people than ever working from home. And I know that there's a lot of business owners out there that is causing them stress because they can't physically walk by someone's desk and see that they're doing something. And so, that I think for our listeners, that can be a lesson that you can take away from this episode is if you hire a VA, ask for a daily update report. That's been something that's been critical in my business, and it helps me facilitate the reviewing and communicate better.
I would like to echo that. So, Omer, I've been working with your Tasker for almost a year now, and I had hired off of other outsourcing sites, Fiverr, and other places, and worked with VAs in the past. And one thing that really is different with your Tasker was, I have an e-commerce specialist that started from day one with several years of experience. So when we started building a plan and a scope, I realized right out of the gate that my e-commerce specialist was really knowledgeable, and I did not have to train them. I didn't have to work with him very much. He was like, oh, I can do this, and this. And I think that was huge on top of the reporting feature and the quality control. So those are a lot of, differences that I see with your working with your Tasker versus another, just outsourcing agency. Now, is that something that you put in place day one with your teams and that you wanted to structure that way?
Yes, definitely. The first year when we started and we had a team of, when we start growing and people start asking us for our services, okay, Very first thing which we did is we built our own physical offices. Okay, and same thing with the US right now. I'm sitting in one of my office, which is in Long Island. Okay, we're thinking to make it have a bigger space for this office as well in future. But when we did 4 years ago, we had our own offices. We started with one office. And that office has a proper structure, okay? Yeah, when it like HR, okay, and I can have mentioned that you don't have to train our resources because the reason is that those guys are working with us for a couple of years, or we got them out of the market with experience, and that is a lot of comes with a lot of recruiting and finding right resources, training them, putting on shadow projects, okay, where they can learn from someone who is actually working on the real account. And on top of that is basically continuous learning and training and development. We have a dedicated department called training and development. So all the feedback which we get, so we send feedback every month, and that feedbacks, I mean, I get happy when I get like someone say something which is a constructive criticism. Basically, you can improve this, you can improve this. I basically, I tell my department who is collecting feedback, I said, well, you need to say special thank you to this person because this person took time and provided that feedback. Now we could improve ourselves. So we have a dedicated training and development department which takes feedback and continuously improving ourselves. So Ken have mentioned e-commerce assistant. So whenever I go to podcast or any shows, I say you cannot use word VA for e-commerce. You need to come up. You need to use word e-commerce assistant, specialist, or expert, because VA is someone who is maybe sitting in his home or her home or somewhere, and you have to train. The challenge which e-commerce business owner faces, that they can hire someone whom they can train stuff and they can do all that stuff. What about all those changes which are coming into the market? Okay, who's going to keep an eye on that? Okay, as a you could understand as a business owner that okay, this change came, but then you have to train back to your resource who is working. So we make sure at your tasker that whatever the requirement, whatever the new development, new changes which came, what is going on. For example, like yesterday we were discussing that development on Amazon was that they are accepting all non-essential shipments. Now all of a sudden, instead of just posting everywhere, I start asking all of my guys what is going on. All the categories are getting accepted or no? So instead of just reaching out to our clients blindly saying that, oh, Amazon can, no, we need to check all those categories and contact our clients and inform them. So that takes off a lot of burden, a lot of because if you hear from your assistant, specialist, or expert, this is what it coming on Amazon or any other platform, that's a blessing, because you see that a real team working behind the scene. So it has a lot to do with processes. Again, I'm talking again and again about processes. So HR department, which we have, training development department, basic department like finance, marketing, all those component that makes your tasker a company which is, and there are a lot of people who are behind the scene working to make your tasker successful. So it's not only operations or e-commerce assistant or specialist or expert who are helping them on the continuous basis.
As you keep referring to processes, I'm sitting here thinking about my own business, and that is something that I feel like I need to do a better job of. And I'd like to dive into this a little bit more. So right now, I would say that most of my business processes are stored up in my brain, right? Like I know what to do, but in order to pass this off to somebody, I need to explain it. And if that person leaves, then I need to explain it to somebody else. So what coaching would you give to somebody that said, all right, tomorrow I'm going to sit down, I'm going to start working on my business processes? Where do they start? Does it start with a Word document? Does it, what are some of the best business processes that you've seen, and how are people creating these?
I mean, it can be anything. And I think Word document is pretty straightforward, simple one way where you can start. Okay. The basic intent is that whenever you are documenting those processes, think about that one of your family member, your siblings, your spouse, whoever has to follow that processes from tomorrow. Okay. So what exactly you need to put, so they can just take that guide and, kind of follow that. If you have this mentality, you can easily draw those processes or write about those processes. Another point is continuous revision. Okay, so based on those changes, how you are changing stuff. For example, I manage marketing on your Tasker side. Okay, so whenever I talk to someone, and initially when I start handling, I was talking all those things and they were just in my mind. Okay, and I was kind of in same place where David you are mentioning right now. So I I kind of took a step back and I said, okay, let's start. If I have to delegate starting from tomorrow and I'm not there, okay, what are the processes? Okay, what are the things which I do and I have in my mind that this needs to be done? And I can tell you, David, that once you start documenting, you start finding new stuff. Okay, and once you review, there is always there is always something interesting to find out how those processes could be improved. For example, at your Tasker, when you for everything which we have is a process. When it comes to our KPIs, which we have determined for our consultants or our resources, we follow those processes. Okay, our partner, probably, I don't know if you have talked to him. He's the director of operations, so he was here for almost 1 month, and all of the operations were running smoothly because he was able to create processes and sit on top of that processes. So it's basically mentality whether you work in your business or work on your business. So in nutshell.
Very nice, very nice.
Sure. I mean, anything which you can share about your journey or what you have learned so far in e-commerce, that will, I mean, how you started your journey. And, I would like to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey started with I wanted just a little bit of extra income. So this kind of started as a hobby. I quickly learned that this is a viable business opportunity, and my background's in public accounting. So you had mentioned you came from Deloitte. I used to work at KPMG, and so that culture, great companies, right? Great companies, and I learned a ton. However, in terms of lifestyle, wasn't the best. Really long hours, and so I've continued to work on this business for the last 4 years, and it's really starting to become something special. And so that's kind of the short story of my journey. But one thing I've done in the last year that's really helped is by outsourcing, is by not trying to do everything. I still have a 9 to 5. The topic, or the title of our show is Firing the Man. And so, typically I dedicate about 2 hours in the morning to working on the business, and then it's off to work. And so that's been a critical thing that I've done. And, I've had a lot of failures there. I've hired a lot of people on Upwork and Fiverr that just haven't quite worked out. And so that's been something that, I thought my keyword research was really good until I got some from your Tasker and realized that, no, I'm only okay at it. So that's a little bit about my story. Ken, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, sure. So my story is similar to David. I started my business just wanting a little bit of side income, and really liked it. I liked the journey of building the business and expanding and growing. And before I knew it, I had, 2 physical products brands that were growing rapidly. And, I have a full-time engineering job during the day. And I realized, I need help. And, like David mentioned, I hired a couple of VAs, the standard VAs, and it would take so long for me to try to train them up. And, Omer, I heard you on Steve Chu's podcast last year, and I thought, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try your Tasker. And, I have now hired two full-time specialists from your Tasker, and it's, my business has really scaled and grown. And now I have time to grow my business, like you mentioned earlier, Omer, to work on my business and not in my business. So it's been really huge working with your Tasker and just bringing specialists on board that are already up and trained. And like David mentioned, I'm not going to say his name, but my e-com specialist, he said, no, you shouldn't do that. You should do this. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 2 years, and he showed me, a new way to do something that was way faster. So yeah, a huge benefit to my business.
Sure. Let me ask you this question. So there is a lot of discussion going on, especially with the COVID-19. What do you guys see the impact of this COVID-19 or e-commerce?
Right now, I think that there are people that are ordering things online that have never ordered things online before, and they are realizing how easy it is. One thing that got me into e-commerce was hearing my mom say, "Hey Alexa, order me laundry detergent," and my mom is not computer savvy at all, and so there was an underlying message of, it's not just millennials that are ordering things online, and so I think this COVID-19 really creates an opportunity for e-commerce sellers in particular, because oftentimes whatever you want, you don't need that day. If you were to traditionally like drive to the store and get it, and if you can wait for 2 days, it'll show up on your doorstep, and it saves money, it saves time, and that's ultimately that's our biggest asset, is our time. And so it is so easy to just point, click, read reviews. And, in terms of the shopping experience, when I go to the store and I see something on the shelf, I can't talk to other people that have used it. There's no reviews. But I think that the review system makes e-commerce very unique because it creates some social proof around products, right? I think this looks good. I think the pictures look good, but here's 200 other people that give it a 4 or 5-star review. And so I think it's a better shopping experience. And so although this has created some struggles in my business, I think in the long term, we're going to look back at the COVID-19 outbreak and see this as a giant pivot point in e-commerce for the better.
Yeah. So my take on that is twofold. So in the short term, there's going to be a lot of hiccups. There's going to be a lot of bumps in the road. And if you can quickly adjust and adapt and survive, then you're going to be, if you're resilient, then you're going to be fine. Now, and not only that, but there are going to be people that go out of business. And what is that? That creates opportunity for the people that stay in business. So my long-term view of the COVID-19 is that what David mentioned, there's more and more people. I mean, you have to shop online now to get something, right? So the more people that go online and shop, they're going to be doing this for a long time, right? This is probably going to drag out for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, for a really long time. And humans, I believe, are creatures of habit. So once you create a habit of shopping online, you're going to continue that habit. So I think the long-term, view of e-commerce is really, really good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I look into 2 views. So first of all, people who wants to start on e-commerce, okay, what evidence you guys need now? It's pretty much clear. E-commerce is there, and it's gonna be there in future, whatever channel you're trying to sell. Secondly, people who are already selling, okay, I think the important point which they need to realize is that they need to start working on diversify their business. Okay, I was talking another show the other day, and And that question came to me, and I answered that. Diversify in the sense that you need to look all those products which you never thought about, based on the current circumstances. Diversify your shipping options. For example, if you are just totally depending on FBA, what happened in the last 6 weeks, you need to start thinking about FBM, 3PL, have all those options ready. So diversify as much as you can for existing business owners, especially who are selling online. So that is from my side, but I think pretty much you guys clear, what is happening. Yeah. So yeah, good to know.
Absolutely. Well, let's finish out the podcast with 4 questions that we ask all of our guests. The first one, what is your favorite book?
My favorite book is E-Myth. I don't know if you guys have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that book.
I talk about that book so much. Manager, technician, and what is on the top? Boss or entrepreneur, whoever. So yeah, I love that book.
What are your hobbies, Omer?
My hobbies. Your task. Yes, my hobbies is if I get time reading books. I used to be a good fan when I was growing up reading books, but now I don't get time. So I have this app, Audible. You guys are pretty much familiar. So I read books, spending time with family. That's what I do. I have 3 kids. So if I get time, I could spend time with them as much as I can. So that's basically it is, outside your tasker.
All right. What do you think sets apart successful e-commerce entrepreneurs from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
Whenever someone mention the word fail, I look at another perspective. What is your mindset? For example, when I was thinking about launching my first private label product, okay, I was taking so much time, and I was figuring out, what to do, how it's gonna be, and eventually I took action and I launched, and that was a disaster product, okay, but I didn't call it a failure, okay. I basically learned a lot of stuff from that experience and kind of applied to my second product or on my business, which is your tasker. So it's basically mindset. What is your mindset? And if you fail, there is a phrase called fail, but failed better. Okay. So, think about that.
So Omer, really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today. Hopefully we get to see each other in the future at a conference, when everything comes back to normal. How can people get a hold of you, your team, reach out? Do you have an email, website, or?
Yeah, they can reach out to our website, www.yourtasker.com, and they can reach out to our team.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to the episode. Before we close, URTasker has a special offer. If you contact them and mention that Firing the Man podcast sent you, they're going to do a full Amazon brand analysis. This includes listing analysis with detailed page and back-end analysis, advertisement analysis, promotions and coupons, account health, inventory, market opportunities, and market share. Both Ken and I got this done when we started with URTasker, and we're incredibly impressed with the diagnostics and stuff that they came up with for meaningful improvements that we could make in our business. So go on over to yourtasker.com, mention that we sent you, and get this full brand analysis for your Amazon account. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next time.